You wake up before the alarm again. 6:03 a.m. It's still, but your mind isn't. It's already counting. Mortgage, credit cards. You tell yourself it's fine. You have a good job. You work hard. So why does it feel like you're one mistake away from everything collapsing? That's the paycheck illusion, and it's stronger than you think. Let me tell you about Daniel. Daniel is 41, senior manager. When he got his first real job, he made $38,000. He promised himself something that night. I'll never struggle with money again. But last week he sat in his car after work, engine off, staring at the steering wheel because his company announced organizational restructuring. He knew what that meant. And suddenly $140,000 didn't feel like wealth. It felt like a leash because Daniel doesn't have $140,000. He has obligations, a $2,700 mortgage, two car payments, private school tuition. He makes $140,000, but he needs 132. That gap? It's tiny. And that tiny gap is the difference between confidence and panic. Here's the illusion. You think your paycheck is making you rich, but it's only, and comfort is expensive, very expensive. When you were younger, rich meant one thing, a big income. That was it. Make more, win, simple. But no one explained the other side, the invisible side, the part where your lifestyle grows faster than your freedom. Think back to your first job. You didn't need much. Small place, used car, you felt broke, but you were light. There wasn't much to lose. Now, you have things, nice things, and every one of those things comes with a monthly bill. That bill doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired or burned out. It shows up anyway, every month, on time. Your paycheck doesn't build wealth. It feeds those bills. And when the bills grow, they eat the raise every time. There's a moment when you get a salary increase. It feels amazing. You open the email. You see the number. You imagine the relief. But what happens next? You upgrade. Maybe not immediately, but slowly, subtly. A better apartment. You justify it. I worked hard. I deserve this. And you're right, you did. But the system doesn't reward discipline. It rewards consumption. Because the moment your expenses match your income, you're trapped again. Just at a higher level. That's the paycheck illusion. It tells you that more income equals more freedom. Let me tell you about Jasmine. She's 33, corporate attorney. When she was in law school, she lived off noodles and hope. Now she has designer shoes, a high-rise apartment, a social circle that looks, but every Sunday night she feels it. That tightness in her chest. Because her student loans are still there. Her rent is $3,400. If she quit tomorrow, she'd last 3 months. Maybe. And that terrifies her. She doesn't hate her job. She just can't afford to lose it. There's a difference. And that difference is everything. Working hard feels noble. It feels safe. You trade hours for money, money for security. That's the deal. But here's what no one tells you. If your money only comes when you work, and when stopping is dangerous, you're not rich. You're dependent. That dependency creates fear. Fear makes you compliant. You don't push back on unfair demands. You don't take big risks. You don't start the business idea that keeps you up at night because you can't. You have too much to lose. Or at least, that's how it. Now let's talk about greed. Not the ugly kind, the subtle kind, the kind that whispers, just a little more. You see someone making $250,000. You think that's the level. That's when stress disappears. That's when life gets easy. But what you don't see is their bills, their mortgage, their second home, their lifestyle expectation. You only see income. You don't see obligations. And income is loud. Obligations are quiet. But obligations are what own you. Here's a hard question. If your paycheck stopped tomorrow, how long would your life look the same? Be honest. A month? Two? Less? That answer tells you everything. Because wealth isn't about how much you earn. It's about how long you can survive with. That's the part nobody brags about. Nobody posts their emergency fund on social media. Nobody flexes low expenses. But those are the real power moves. There's guilt wrapped up in this too. You feel ungrateful for even worrying. You make more than your parents. So who are you to complain? But this isn't about complaining. It's about clarity. You can be grateful and still recognize a trap, because the trap isn't poverty. The trap is fragility disguised as success. The paycheck gives you relief. Every 2 weeks. Dopamine hits. Okay, I'm safe. Bills paid. Crisis postponed. But then the cycle restarts, and you're back to zero. That's not momentum. That's maintenance. Real wealth builds quietly, slowly. It doesn't reset every 2 weeks. It compounds. It grows while you sleep. Your paycheck doesn't do that. It just arrives and leaves. It's about losing identity. Reason layoffs feel so terrifying. It's not just about losing income, status, routine. But underneath that is something simpler. Bills don't stop when paychecks do. And when your entire life is structured around any disruption feels like free fall. That's not freedom. That's a tightrope. And you're walking it every month. Let's zoom out. Imagine two people. Both make $120,000 a year. Person A spends $115,000. Person B spends on the outside. They look similar. Maybe person A even looks more impressive. But if both lose their job tomorrow, who sleeps better? Person B, every time. Because the gap is power. The space between what you earn and what you need. That space is freedom. And the system trains you to shrink it, not expand it. Advertising tells you that upgrading is winning. Friends reinforce it. Culture celebrates it. You start measuring your progress by visible things. Square footage, horsepower, brand names. But none of those things protect you. They just increase the monthly burn rate. And the higher the burn rate, the harder you have to run. There's a quiet moment that changes people. It's when they realize their lifestyle owns them, not the other way around. Maybe it happens during a health scare, or a job scare, or a market crash. Suddenly, all the stuff feels heavy because it has to be maintained, paid for, protected, insured. That's when the illusion cracks. Working hard is honorable. It builds skill. It builds discipline. It can build. Ownership does. Assets do. Things that pay you back. Things that don't require your constant presence. When your money starts working without, that's when fear shrinks. But building that requires sacrifice. Short-term sacrifice. And that's where most people stop. Because sacrifice feels like loss, even when it's actually leverage. You might be thinking, so what am I supposed to do? Live like a monk? No, this isn't about deprivation. It's about direction. It's about choosing freedom over image, choosing flexibility over applause, choosing long-term calm over short-term validation. That requires honesty, brutal honesty, about what you actually need, about what you're spending to impress people who aren't paying your bills, about whether your raise created freedom or just upgraded your cage. The paycheck illusion survives because it feels safe, predictable, structured. You know exactly when money arrives. But safety built on constant earning isn't safety. It's performance. And performance gets exhausting. Real safety comes from margin, from reserves, from assets that don't clock out. Imagine waking up and not checking your bank account, not because you don't care, but because you're not worried. Imagine knowing that calm, that's wealth. Not the car, not the title, not the paycheck, the calm, because the real goal was never a bigger paycheck. It was peace. And peace doesn't come from how much you make. It comes from how little you need and how much you own. The illusion is powerful, but once you see it, you stop chasing and you start building freedom. And that's when working hard finally starts working for you. Not just your bill, but your future. Heavy,